Hail Internet, it's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. Today, we're talking about Season 2, Episode 10, the season finale of the Apple TV sci-fi series Severance, the episode entitled Cold Harbor. And apologies in advance for, I'm recovering from a cold, a little sniffly here, but we'll get through this.
That's your Cold Harbor.
We open with Helly continuing her conversation with James Egan, who tells her he does not love Helena or any of his bastard children because he does not see the spirit of Keir in them, but he does see Keir's spirit in Helly. She replies, "God, you're effing weird." However, most of the first 15 minutes is spent with a conversation between Innie and Outie Mark via camcorder. This is an awesome sequence. And I think we even mentioned it earlier this season after we realized that Helly was probably Helena. The possibility of having an Innie talk with an Outie and the drama that would provide. Drama indeed. I really like this scene. Outie Mark explains to Innie Mark that he'll need to complete Cold Harbor and then immediately rescue Gemma, which will save Gemma's life and likely take down Lumen's Severance facility. Innie Mark isn't thrilled about all the Innies dying to save Gemma. Outie Mark tries to connect with Innie Mark, but he calls Helly Heleny, which I think, anyway, that's a misstep there, and they get in a big argument. We end with Innie Mark doing his part, escorting Gemma / Miss Casey through the severed floor past the security door. She becomes Gemma and begs for Mark to follow her. Keep in mind, she doesn't know about Innie Mark. She doesn't know that Mark ever got an Innie. So she just sees Mark leave her and run back into the facility to another woman. You're like, oh, God. Innie Mark and Helly run hand in hand through the severed floor. Freeze frame, credits.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure where they're running. It kind of reminded me of the end of The Graduate. You know, Dustin Hoffman's Benjamin. They run off, get on the bus, and then as the movie ends and they're sitting on the bus, you realize they haven't really thought about what comes next. They're just like, hey, we did this thing. But it makes for an exciting season 3.
Sure.
Notice, I don't have any circus peanuts on me. That's because the escape did not go to plan. My taste buds are thankful. Woohoo! All that said, Paul.
Yes.
What'd you think of the episode, of the season 2 finale?
Yes, exactly. The ultimate episode.
Yeah.
I certainly enjoyed it. Some things I could be concerned about is we're now a little closer to figuring out what they're up to, at least with
but we don't
Gemma.
know for sure.
No, we don't. Just a little closer.
Right.
And so to be honest, like one thing I've always felt like, I certainly first thought of it with Lost. And that is this, like when a show is a mystery, everybody has theories about it.
Yep.
And not all of them can be right.
Correct.
And as the
Most
show
of
goes
them will be
along,
wrong.
people will start seeing what they get wrong, and those people might decide, now I don't like the show because
now I bail.
see,
Yeah.
And so one thing we discussed earlier is perhaps a reason why this thing is occurring. When there were sacrifices and all that, little goats there, and the extent to which scientifically whatever they're doing may not stand up for me. And so, thankfully I'm invested in the characters. So,
right. The numbers in the boxes, right, they seem a little like, is that really a thing? I mean, like it's a sci-fi premise and we'll just accept that somehow in the cult of Keir, the idea of the tempers in these boxes and you move numbers into boxes and it creates the personality of a person works. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, you could say it's the MacGuffin that everybody's going after, and it doesn't matter as much as everybody struggled to get it.
Right. There's a tension in these type of a mystery box show, where you held on to your secrets too long at the expense of the tension, anyway. So I don't think they've held on too long at this point.
No,
I could imagine if you got to season 3 and you went to the end of season 3 and you were kind of in the same spot you are now, that would probably be too long. You'd be like, oh, okay, what did we just do here? So,
but yeah, I love that scene between Mark and Mark. You know,
fantastic.
and the Helly convincing Mark that you know their only course is to follow through with this plan.
Right.
That was a great scene. You know, the weird Sammy Davis Jr. Frank Sinatra scene between
Milchick and Robotic Kier.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, must be being voiced by somebody, right?
Yeah, I think it's probably because they certainly don't. They kind of have that relationship. Him and
Drummond.
Drummond, yeah, I think it's Drummond that's doing the voice. He certainly had a low enough register to be him.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like Helly's dad, so.
Right.
So yeah, I think it was Drummond that was doing the voice.
Speaking of bizarre, you gotta love the over-the-top, absurd, awesome to behold marching band sequence.
Yes.
Man,
yes.
Tremel Tillman, boom.
Yeah.
I feel like that guy's career is gonna take off. I mean, maybe it already has, but I feel like he's gonna be in demand. He knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, thankfully they found another way for him to dance. You were saying that. You heard that he was reluctant to dance again.
Yeah, in fact, I'll tell you what. I'll read this little passage. So this is I found a Variety article where he was asked about it, and I thought it was pretty interesting, his response. So the question from Variety: we got to unpack that insane marching band scene. Did that come about because of the audience reaction to your music dance experience moves from season 1? How long did it take to learn the sequence? He says, I did not want to do it. And when I saw that it was a possibility, I said to a couple of the creators, I just don't want Milchick dancing in every single season. Because I was concerned we were going to try to replicate the music dance experience. You can't do that. It's iconic. And it was special for what it was. But when Ben told me he was bringing in a marching band, I went to 2 HBCUs, and one of them was Jackson State University, and they housed the Sonic Boom of the South, one of the best marching bands in the country, and I would watch them in my undergraduate years with such awe and amazement in the athleticism, creativity, passion of these musicians and dancers. So when Ben told me there was a marching band coming in, I said, okay, hold on. What kind of marching band? Military style, or is it HBCU style? He said he wasn't sure at that moment. I asked him, how do you want me to participate? Do you want me to be the band director, or did you want me to be the drum major? And I said to myself, if this is going to be HBCU style, like Jackson State University, I'm going to be the drum major. So pretty sweet that he had a lot to say and how that came about. And man, it just works. It's great. It's a great sequence. It's fantastic. And it's just so Lumen-esque. Just here's your perk for completing the project. You get a marching band in your office.
I'd say awesome. Actually it's probably more striking and energizing than the dance at the end.
Just the sheer number, the choreography.
Well, I was going to say, actually, but I mean, when Dylan had his waffle.
Oh, right.
Right? Because there was a dance for that he just had to sit and watch.
Good point.
And, Seth wasn't involved with that. He wasn't even around.
Yep.
So
the concept and the execution are great. Also, this is one of those like only in Severance style plot developments. But during the escape, you get 4 different distinct Mark Gemma interactions. So in the Cold Harbor room, so she's in there taking apart the crib.
Right.
Audi Mark comes in and meets Innie Gemma. Right. So they have this meeting. Okay. As soon as they leave that room, they're now both Audis. So now they're communicating as Audis. They know, they remember each other.
Right.
They get to the severed floor. They're now both Innies. So they immediately are now communicating without knowledge of their past. Then Gemma gets through the door, so you get Audi Gemma and Innie Mark. And what happens there. So it's just like, it's amazing that you've got the same people, but it's literally 4 different relationships.
Yeah.
In the course of a few minutes. It's pretty awesome. Very, very just, it's creative, unique. It's what the show is. It's really, really well done.
It'd be interesting to learn more about exactly what they were doing with Gemma because. I mean,
What's the
we've
ultimate goal?
speculated about, I've heard people speculate, okay, yeah, you don't have to go to the dentist anymore, and, you don't have to ride on airplanes or be aware of riding on airplanes, and like, okay, fine. But is there a practical reason to have that many of them in one person's head, and
Right. I think
and
the answer's
also,
no.
too, like the difference between, one thing that the doctor was saying, Robbie Benson, Dr. Maurer, was saying that they'll all die, which,
Well, I guess what he's saying is if Gemma leaves with the chip, then all of those 25 innies, well, they'll never be able to use them again, I guess. So all those innie personalities would die. That's kind of what I got out of it. But
I believe that's what he was saying, too. But I'm saying, though, like, is he dying the way that Dylan died, where it's like, oh, he's never coming back, but he did come back. Like
true,
if they
right.
actually brought her back down, would they not be able to?
I think they would. Yes, I think the answer is they would be able to. Yeah, I think his assumption is once she leaves, she's never coming back. I think it's
okay.
But I mean, you're right though. There's ways to interpret that line. So she's got 25 innies. The 25th innie is this Cold Harbor thing.
Also, too, what's to stop them from doing the overtime contingency?
Right.
Right.
I mean, she's a special case a little bit, but they could probably still do something like that with her.
Yeah.
To say that Cold Harbor, FYI, it appears to be a reference to the name of the crib manufacturer.
Oh, interesting.
It's like a French spelling of Cold Harbor. I'll put a screenshot of it on there. But so that was, we were kind of, what is Cold Harbor? What's it all about? I think it's just a reference to the crib.
Interesting.
But yeah, so.
And it's a little weird. It seems like they were all asking, "Oh, looks like it's holding. Looks like it's holding." It's like that's the final test, huh? I guess maybe it's having all those different innies in their head if they didn't bleed into each other, I guess. So maybe that was the part that was different, was having all those innies inside her head. And even still, she doesn't, even dressed in the clothes that she last saw Mark in and disassembling and some people said they heard the music that was playing.
Oh, right. Yes.
So, even with all those cues,
Billie Holiday or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. With all those things that she still doesn't, which is okay.
I mean, part of it still feels to me like maybe if it was simply, we wanted to see if we could keep people from experiencing fear of flying. Okay, well, then mission accomplished already, right? They did that a long time ago. So it's not that as much as I feel like it's can we make a person like a blank slate, maybe? Like, okay, now if we interject a new personality, the old personality won't interact with it, maybe.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that's the idea. But, interestingly, in some ways, Annie Mark's rejection of Gemma in favor of Helly at the end is almost a better example of the chip working than Cold Harbor. Right? So Annie Mark comes face to face with his Audie's true love.
Right.
And is not overcome by this emotional attachment to her.
Right.
Anyway, so it's interesting. I don't know still the ultimate goal.
I've heard some speculation about exactly how ritualistic it is, because
it sounded like they implied they were going to sacrifice her, right?
Right. Yeah, Drummond were sacrificing the lamb so that the lamb could escort Gemma to
the spirit of Kier or something.
Yeah,
like that,
Kier.
Right?
Yeah. So
and Cobell said once the thing's done, she's dead. Like it implied that they were not just that she would be. Oh, her mind won't be the same anymore, but like they would somehow kill her. So yeah, it does.
And I'm wondering too whether it's related to James talking about his ascension or something. Way back at the end of the revolving. Yeah, like what is he talking about there? Is that why he's so engrossed in the success of this particular project because it imagines it'll affect him in some way that he's concerned about? I mean, people are still imagining And I think you even mentioned it, like putting different people's consciousnesses into
Yeah,
each other,
that's
which
still
we
where I
haven't
think it might be
seen.
going. We have not.
No, we have not
But I do
seen
feel
that.
like, oh, you have a blank slate
And if
person.
you were gonna do it, would you be like having some people in a room looking at numbers and seeing which ones are scary or not? I mean, you know.
Maybe. I mean, according in the logic of this show, yes. It's kind of actually funny that Lumen, over the course of the 2 seasons, has used legends of different departments going crazy on killing sprees to keep
Yes.
everybody in line and scared
Right.
of each other. And now we have a violent employee uprising with the murder of an administrator. So it actually happened. Maybe it already had happened. Maybe it had happened at some point in the past, and they're referencing it.
Yeah.
But they,
Yeah, because they certainly, they actually
Drummond
called
dies.
the season 1, revolt. They call that the Macrodat. They have a name
uprising.
For that. Uprising, yeah. So, who knows what the previous? Maybe that's what the post season 4 version of Severance is an earlier version of Lumen.
Yeah,
Where they're first figuring it out.
I mean, I can imagine. We can talk about this now if you want. Like, where does season 3 go?
Right.
Like if you were to just take it on face value, the innies have killed an administrator. They
Yes.
beat up Milchick. They stole away. We can assume Gemma escaped successfully. She's probably got Devin and Cobell waiting for her
I don't
out
see
there.
how they can do a story without her escaping.
So all that to say that you would think they would be punished severely for that, and so that would be the end of them. But that's not going to be the end of them. That's the show. So here's an idea. I have no idea whether this is a thing or not, but we've just talked about something similar. So maybe at least part of season 3 is the innies essentially riot and temporarily take control of the facility. It's like they live day to day in the world of the 7th floor. They're not there to work. They're just like, we can live here, and maybe we can demand. We have demands, and if they don't get met, we're going to kill James Egan or whatever.
I forgot about him.
So he's there.
Yeah, true.
So anyway, you would figure eventually authorities would get called in. Maybe Gemma has to go back to save Mark. But anyway, maybe that's where you come out is like innies are demanding rights and are now have taken control of the severed floor. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on where season 3 might go.
I don't. I mean, the only way out of it that I could imagine was James Egan dying and giving the company to Helen.
Oh, right.
But in some ways that would, I don't know, that may be more a 4-season thing.
Okay.
Because then you have to figure out exactly what she wants.
Right.
It's like there are times when she's dismissive of what's going on, either pretending to be Helly or, even when she's Helena talking to Mark, she, criticized the masturbation story.
Right. She doesn't seem like she's fully on board.
Right.
With the
it's hard
whole ritual cult aspect.
Enough so I think that gives people a sort of foot into imagining that wasn't Helly but Helena, even though it's hard to imagine, one, the scene that happened with her father being Helly. It's hard to imagine her doing all that to Milchick, so
you would have to think, I guess, if you were going to try to find a way to make it be that it's Helena at the end and not Helly, that transformation would have happened after the whole thing with Milchick somehow. But I don't see it. Narratively, it doesn't work because you've already done it. You did that, and it was like, oh, this big betrayal. You were Helena the whole time. If you then just turn it around and be like, oh, yeah, I did it again, and then you fell for it again.
I feel
I would
like
actually hate that, frankly. I think it would be dumb.
Helena would do is say, excuse me, Mark, I've got to go get this woman back inside here. So we're not exposed.
Right.
We have to get on killing this woman, Yeah, you don't care about her really. Come on, admit that, Mark.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if they're what's one of the weird things too that happen in these shows where people, they don't because anything is possible. They in a way prefer more outlandish things to happen
Right,
next.
right. Maybe that outlandish thing has happened.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
it has, but think it through. If it has, is that a good thing? Or
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Maybe there's a dinosaur loose. Okay, why?
Although I guess
whatever.
you could say like, okay, they better have a plan in place, right? Because
Yeah.
you could have had both of them leave, and you could have had a little tearful scene between Mark and Helly, and then Mark leave with Gemma to make sure she's safe, and that could have been the end of the series.
I think. Right. Good point. Now, think back though to when we were talking about
So they
that
better have a
interview
plan.
with Damon Lindelof, where
Right.
he mentioned this was weeks ago, where he was like,
Yes.
"This isn't a Mark Gemma story. This is a Mark Helly story."
Yeah.
And so he
Right.
was pretty convinced that this wasn't
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
work out. When hey, look, and Gemma and Mark are out on this earth, and they're great now.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah, and if you wanted to be fair to all those innies, you would come up with a way, either, I guess, integration for all of them, although we still don't know. He's right about,
Yeah.
you
Mark
know,
tries
like,
to pass it off like, reintegration will be working. He's like, how does that work?
10%
I don't know.
innie
Okay.
and,
Yeah.
90%,
Yeah.
outie.
Yeah, it's basically an Audi with a couple of memories of
Yeah,
sitting in a computer. Oh, okay. Yay.
yeah. It's like, well, that was a weird job I had for a little bit,
Yeah,
but it's, so it might be, and if they actually have a plan for how you could responsibly give these innies a further life,
Yeah.
then it'd be interesting to see if that's happening. Who knows? Yeah, it's hard to, I think it's as hard as ever for me to figure out what's going to happen next.
It is, but you're right. That's the direction this is heading. Is innies getting treated more and more like people because they are, and they are separate and distinct from their outies. And so, whereas it was compelling. When you see Innie Mark talking to Devin and Cobell, and he's like, and Outie Mark, but just the idea of
Yes.
like, okay, you're gonna rescue Gemma and then get rid of Lumen because it's
Right.
terrible. What happens to us? And they're like, we just assumed you wouldn't want to work there anymore because it's terrible. So you wouldn't mind us turning you off.
Yeah, turning you off, killing you. Yes.
Yeah. You're like, oh wow, okay, no, we got Brienne of Tarth in another
Yes.
brutal melee.
Yes. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was awesome. And her little line there, where she's like, Emil thanks you. And he's like, she's like, Emil's the name of the goat. Oh, okay. Just like, it's a fun little.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. She
Yes,
didn't
yes.
like killing all the
Yeah.
goats. She was raising them.
And a lot of great little scaring off Senator Bernhard with
Yeah.
useless gun.
Yep.
Just
Even the it's a darkly comic, but the comedic beat of all right, don't kill him.
Yeah.
We need him, and then Innie Mark takes Drummond hostage, and then he's like, okay, when we get down to the other floor, I'm gonna switch out, and then I'll switch. Accidentally, his hand then shoots the gun, so he suddenly just is holding a dying Drummond.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
So the point where it's like, oh, this is actually helpful having all your blood on my tie.
Yeah. Oh, right. Good point. And also, you blocked the door. Oh, look at that. That's nice. Keep the elevator open for me. Okay. Now, here's one thing that's interesting. Like a little, thinking the backstory of the marching band of innies.
Mm-hmm.
So, do we think their outies are musically inclined and so agreed to be in a company band for some kind of it's job security. I get a regular paycheck.
I mean, I imagine that they know how to use those instruments,
Right.
because it's just one of those things where, when Irving was out, and he just knew how to drive a car because he'd done it enough so that it's in his memory, even if he might not remember the particular lessons. But, that's one of those long-term memory things. So they just had musicians in.
Yeah, I mean, it would be crazy if it was instead. It's just like the Audis they have no idea, and they're like their any personality is a musician, and they're like, oh no, I'm a plumber.
Yeah.
Whatever. But anyway, I don't know, but probably
so
not. It's probably
if they're like practicing it, they're like, oh good, this is a way for me to make money being a musician.
Yeah.
Once they're had a day full of practicing, do they get home and think, boy, I want to play. I haven't played all day.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
I guess I played at work, but
don't do my
I want
night
to play
gig.
when I get home?
Go play at the club or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's an interesting little lifestyle for the lifestyle of a Lumen musician. Interesting.
Yeah.
But we will probably see more of them. Because if we pick up where we leave off in season 3, they're there. They're part of this. The alarms are going off. Yeah. They were holding Milchick in place or helping helping Dylan do so. So they'll be back in play. But yeah, so I really appreciated it. I thought it was another really strong end to a season, which is hard to do.
Yeah.
In a mystery box, they did it great for season 1, and I think they pulled it off again for season 2.
Yeah,
so
I'd say.
So kudos, well done, Severance. Really, really happy to have watched it and covered it. And yeah, out there, if you out there have some ideas for where they might be going season 3, feel free to let us know.
Yes.
And otherwise, we're going to be talking Daredevil. I think they're dropping 2 episodes at once, 5 and 6, coming up later this week. So we'll see how that goes. And of course, eventually, not too long from now, like mid to late April, we start covering Andor season 2.
Yes.
Trailers look great. They're dropping 3 episodes at a time, so it'll be a little tricky to cover these, but you know what? All right, in for a penny, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
So, anyway, thank you as always, Paul. Appreciate it, good
problem.
sir. And we'll talk to everybody next time. Bye.